In this episode of EP Talks, host, founder, and CEO Andre Wicks interviews Dan Miani, a veteran principal and educator. They discuss the core elements of sustainable school improvement, the importance of building relationships and trust, and the role of data and metrics in driving meaningful changes in teaching and learning. Dan emphasizes the need for personal growth and self-care as a leader and shares his routine for physical, mental, and spiritual health. He also insights the value of communication and the power of embracing change in the dynamic field of education. Inform, influence, inspire. All right, I want to welcome everybody back from the EP Network to another episode of EP Talks. This is your host, founder, and CEO, Andre Wicks, and we have the pleasure of having a veteran principal, veteran educator, principal of the year in the state of Virginia, Dan Miani. Am I saying that right, Dan?
Well, it's like Miami with an N, so it's Miani, but Miani's a usual drift from the norm. That's fine.
Yes. All right, Miani. And Dan has quite an extensive experience. So just to any of you that are wondering, I want to establish Dan's credibility of being on this show today. Dan's been a math teacher, an adjunct math instructor for the Art Institutes in Virginia Beach, Virginia. He's worked at Bishop Sullivan High School as an assistant principal and high school math teacher. He's been an assistant principal at Lafayette High School in Williamsburg. He's also currently still adjunct faculty at Regent University part-time, and then right now is principal at First Colonial High School. Dan, it's a pleasure to have you with us. In 2022, you were also secondary principal of the year in Virginia, and I'm just fortunate, I feel fortunate to be able to share your voice with the network. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the introduction and the opportunity to speak with you today and share my story.
Yeah. Well, those of you that have tuned in, you know the mode of operation for EP Talks is just to be invitational to all K-12 leaders and listeners, but also taking into consideration that the life of an educator is busy, and so we like to keep these podcasts 30 minutes or less. We've been successful so far, even though the conversation could easily go longer than that. We want to make it so that it's something that you can catch a couple minutes of if you are fortunate enough to have a lunch break here and there, or on the commute to and from work. So we have a set of questions here today to get the conversation started, but we never know where the conversation's going to go. We just let it go where it is and know that regardless of what direction it goes, it's going to be a value add to your work. So, Dan, one question that I wanted to throw at you first is, what do you believe are the core elements that truly drive sustainable school improvement, and how have you implemented those at First Colonial?
So I know it's cliche, but the relationship piece that you have as an administrator, as a teacher, as just a person in your community is enormous. So my first year at Lafayette, when I was principal, my first year, not year, but summer at First Colonial High School, I spent every day meeting with every faculty and staff member, from every assistant principal, teacher, custodian, cafeteria worker, everybody. I have a notebook from each school on my desk, and I would refer to it in the summer as we plan for the school year. So that to me is huge when you're going into a new community, is actually understanding what the community needs from the perception of the community, because everybody has their own needs and perceptions of what's important. From there, building those relationships, then that engenders the trust you need to actually fulfill whatever tasks that are provided to you. So I'm in a large school division now. There's 80 plus schools, about 88 schools. And so we have a vision, a compass to 2025. So we're in the last year, but basically we get an idea of what the school division needs for their students to be ready to graduate beyond just what the state requires. And so we call that the strategic action agenda. What my job with our admin team to do in order to get the school where it needs to be and be sustainable is to align everything we're doing with that document or with our school division's goals. Because then when we implement a new task, our teachers can get resources from central office. We get follow through from people because everything aligns. They're using a common language. You understand what's going on from the building level and how it works all the way back up to the top. So that's one thing I found to be really important for sustainability is understanding the alignment process. So when I have a teacher complete a task, it satisfies 5 or 6 different tasks for everyone else involved. So that way it's more focused on the students and less focus on the semantics of all the stuff we have to turn in every single day. I also think it's really important to implement meaningful tasks and not too many. So my first year coming in, second year, third year, we build on 1 or 2 key concepts that again checks a lot of boxes. That's really important to me. So my brain works is to take the stress off people by finding ways to create opportunities to finish things that complete multiple things. Because at the end of the day, all that matters to the people in our school at First Colonial High School is that our students graduate on time with some kind of plan for the future. Everything else we can fit into that framework. And so that's been my 7 years now of being a principal. That's really been one of the things that I true to is making sure that we align all of our tasks with those of our leaders, so that way we're able to accomplish more with less work.
Yeah, that is good. That's a gold mine right there. I could click stop on the podcast right now, and that would be a gold mine. And something that you said that really resonates with me, and the reason why it resonates with me is because I also know that it resonates with any staff that I've ever had the opportunity to work with, is simplifying things. I don't know what it is about K-12 education and this desire to overcomplicate things and
Mm-hmm.
to cast out our line to every bright shiny lure that flashes in front of our eyes. But what I took away from that segment right there is keep your word. Keep your word about what your focus is going to be. Follow through and finish. I love that. What you're doing with your staff is just that. What are the 2 things that we want to focus on this year, and maybe even the next year. I know that with my staff, we opened up a brand new middle school last year, and 2 of our focuses, the things that outside of everything that you have to attend to, like you said, what are the things that our conversation is going to reoccurringly go back to was around equitable grading and the implementation of a true PLC framework. So I'm curious now that I know how your brain works, what are a couple of the things that you and your team have been focusing on?
Well, to piggyback off what you just said, we actually created a funnel for our community to say, hey, here's what central office pushes out, and then here's what the state pushes out, then central office, then us, and that's what the teachers do, and this is what your student needs to do, and this is what makes them a graduate. So we actually have a visual to show them it's that teaching just not somebody comes into school and teaches a student, they earn a grade and they move on. It's actually this
Right.
huge process. So I create infographics. I feel like visuals are always helpful for the community. What we're focusing on, again, our key, because we're a high school, is on-time graduation. Everything falls under that realm, right? So everything we focus on is there. But what we really do, and I know this is a later question, is we take student voice into consideration. Our division gives out a lot of surveys to students and staff. And so what we do now, because we have a pretty good framework in place in how we monitor students, how we make sure they have all the nuts and bolts stuff, is they want to know more about how their school connects to their future. And so we put some things in place that I can address in one of the later questions to really give them that voice and help them start to make the connections. With our students being hyper connected, you might see this in middle school too. They are more thoughtful, whether they know it or not, about what their future might look like than I think I know I was when I was even in 12th grade, because they're just hyper connected to everything.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm laughing because I know exactly how I was in middle school and high school, and I was a knucklehead, and so to have had a vision from my principal like you're sharing with your staff and students would have been immensely beneficial. It wouldn't have taken me so long to figure it out, that's for sure. Um, you alluded to something. We're going to jump into it right now just because the timing is right. Because, when you're talking about on time graduation for high school students, it can't just be that goal in and of itself for a kid. That is not the motivator for the student. So, just like anything in life, if we're striving for something, if we're committed to a process or a goal or an achievement, there has to be purpose behind it. And so I'm wondering, for your students and your staff, you alluded to this idea of student voice and staff voice, collecting feedback, creating a culture of feedback. What are some ways that you accomplish that at First Colonial?
It's a follow through piece, but like I said, when I first got there, I listened to everybody and what they had to say in terms of the staff, and I try to implement things to help support them. And I say our admin team, but to put those things into place. But for the students, they get a lot of surveys. We have a student group. It's called Tide. It's together in equity, diversity, and education to the group of students, and it's everybody who's not necessarily a school leader. So we actually pull students that we know might be struggling with attendance or other things. So that's one group. Then we have a captains group, which I meet with all the captains from our sports teams, and they talk to me about what they need or the stress they feel sometimes when they know everyone's looking at them at the school, and how we can help them. And then we talk to the leaders of all of our clubs and organizations. We have close to 30 or 40 clubs and organizations, and we speak with them about what their needs are and what they want as well. We have every race, gender type of student group as well, and they sit and do little round tables with our admin team. Either somebody oversees them, or we don't have athletic directors, so they call them student activity coordinators. So they meet with our student activity coordinator. And so the big piece is the follow through piece, because I know a lot of people say buy-in, but that's a bad word in my book. It doesn't exist in my vocabulary. I always use the word ownership. Right? I want people to take ownership of their learning, ownership of the community, ownership of what they do in our schools. And the only way we can do that is create purpose, and you create purpose through listening and actually following through with an initiative. So I'll give you an example. We have one lunch at our school where all 1,600 students go to lunch at the same time for 40 minutes, and it's kind of chaotic at first, but they get into their routines. And each day of the regular week, Monday through Friday, not Thursday though, they have tutoring available. They can have meetings with their clubs. They can talk to their coaches. They can go out inside and eat in our courtyard. But on Thursdays, based on student feedback, we created Thrive Thursday. And this is where students, and we just put out our survey, and it starts this Thursday. It's the third week of school. But 1,000 students tell us what they want. And when I say what they want, who do they want to meet with? Like, we had mechanics come in last year and show them how to do basic work on cars, electricians how to wire a light bulb. We had a DJ come in and teach them how to market music and how to market their business. We have students in our schools that have their own business, like lawn mowing. We have a student who makes money off TikTok reviews of makeup, and they taught students how to monetize their businesses or how to market their business. Some knocking on doors and some using social media. So they want to hear from not only us, but from each other. We have a job fair. We have over 60 vendors come in every April from the community to talk to our students and hire them for jobs out in the community. So that's the ownership piece. That's the connected piece of, hey, here's what I can do when I grow up. I don't have to always go to college. Here are trades. Here are local people that need people like me to work for them because I have a skill set. So that's how we've created that culture of ownership of our students. Of this is why school is important. Not I just go to school because I feel like we actually had a survey, and 95% of our students said they enjoy coming to school, but only 75% said they enjoyed coming to school to learn, which means they know the difference between the questions, but also is an
Yeah.
opportunity for growth for us. Because like what are we not doing to make them want to come to school to learn that we could do a little bit better? Not that we're not doing a good job, but how can we just make those incremental changes? I'm real big into that nuanced leadership. How can you make a slight shift that changes the trajectory of your school? Because I don't ever want anybody, myself included, to settle. And once you settle, you start going backwards, and that's a problem. There's no improvement from there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. It makes me wonder too. If kids are coming to school, they're learning. So it makes me think too. Just going back to that question, what is learning?
Yep.
If the students are coming, that they're engaged, they're probably learning things they don't even realize that they're learning. Just going through a process of something, you're learning at the same time. Dan, one thing that you said though that I wanna come back to and point out with the idea of ownership. I love that. I love that title, ownership, over buy-in, because one thing that I hear you doing with ownership, you're asking your students to invest. If you're asking students to share their voice, they're investing that time. They're investing trust that if you're asking the question, that you're going to deliver. And that word deliver, I think, is super important in creating that sense of ownership. If I put my investment out there, but I get nothing back for it, I don't really feel like an owner, right? If I'm going to
Hmm.
invest my voice, I'm going to invest my time. If I'm going to tell you what I really think and what I believe I really need, but I don't, get that return on my investment. If my principal doesn't deliver, that creates apathy, right? And yeah, so what you're doing, I think, is super powerful. I'm taking notes myself. I'm gonna come back to this recording myself and listen back to this because I think that's one thing in schools that it's so easy for adults to get caught up in the minutia. I love the idea of the funnel too because how many times have you sat around the table? Every single conversation you're having is about students, but without students. And so this process, this system and framework that you've created to obtain student voice from a variety of student groups is super powerful. I hope our listeners take away from that, and that's something that I think is a game changer for sure.
And I'd be happy to share any documents I have with anybody that's listening at any point. That's what I'm all about is networking with people and helping them and help myself get better. But one of the tenets of trust, right, is to not actually do something for somebody else, but ask somebody to do something for you and have them follow through with it and appreciate them for it. And
Yeah,
so I always joke with my colleagues, like I worked in central office, did a short stint in central office, and I enjoyed it. But what I know is like the day that the students can't say that's my principal is the day I don't need to be in a building anymore. That's kind of where I draw the line for myself. Like the kids need to know who I am. They need to at least be able to identify me. They don't need to know my name all the time, but they should be able to say, yeah, that's the principal. Because we have 4 assistant principals and we have a school within our school and academy. So technically we have 5 other administrators that they could confuse me with. So
yeah,
that's huge. That trust piece, that piece of building community and listening to your students. I don't know. That's it. Like that's the glue. Otherwise, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. We get lost. We get lost in the fluff of the day to day paperwork, if you will. And that's not it. That's not what we're in education.
no, for sure, for sure. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned and that you're willing to offer up, any of the expertise. I was planning on asking you. You said you're an infographic guy,
Mhm.
so
Absolutely.
yeah, share that stuff. If you share it with me, share it on LinkedIn. We have the EP network is routinely, we have about 8,000 people on a weekly basis that we send out and that are engaging with the content that we're putting out there. A total network of about 44,000 that on occasion will click on the stuff that we're sending out. But the more great content that we're putting out there, not only the bigger the network, but the stronger the network. And I think that's the most important thing. So thank you for being willing to share that. All right, let's jump in. Let's pivot a little bit. So a lot of what we've talked about is what I would categorize as building culture, and it sounds like you're doing an amazing job of that, Dan. But I want to pivot toward talking a little bit about data and metrics, and have you share with us how do data and metrics play a role in your school improvement efforts, and how do you ensure that they lead to meaningful changes in teaching and learning?
So that's one thing a lot of folks get intimidated by, right? Is data metrics, and unfortunately or unfortunately, that's my wheelhouse. I love it. Like I love my
You're the math
background is
guy, right?
mathematics, right? I have a minor in statistics, actuarial science. I'm a dissertation chair. I teach math to elementary ed majors so they have the foundational skills on how to teach math to little kids so that they are confident when they get out of elementary school. Like I love it. Like that's my what refills my pot. So it's creating a culture around that as well. So we use all the data points, and I'm not just talking about the numerical values. I send very specific student and parent feedback survey that our division collects to members of our instructional leadership team, our specialists, to our admins. Say, hey, what can we do with this, or how can we maximize this to show that we're paying attention to their voice? But we do use the raw data. I mean, it's very easy to use that. But what I do is every month, we don't have faculty meetings in my school. I hate those things. Everybody hates them. So I do a weekly newsletter. Every Thursday, 2 o'clock, you get a newsletter. Every Sunday at 5:30, newsletter goes out to families, and the teachers can read it just so they know what I'm communicating to families. We meet every fourth Tuesday. So all our meetings are on Tuesdays, so teachers know when they're locked down if they have a meeting. But the only meeting they really have to go to is that fourth Tuesday. It's not a meeting. It's teacher-driven professional learning that aligns with our school goals and what we want for our students. We're modeling for one another. So if one students do more exploratory work, then we're modeling professional learning around exploratory skills that could be helpful for our students. So we're always modeling. So what I do in those meetings, I get on our TV news or we meet face to face. I give out the Teacher of the Month award that's self-selected by the peer selected, and then I always go over our discipline data, our attendance data, our academic data, and kind of give them a picture of here's where we are right now, and our discipline data, and I break it down by race and gender and grade level, kind of show them where we are. And I do that every month. And then every quarter, we go over any data that we have from the division of the state. I share that with our PTSA. I put it in my weekly, or my, not always weekly, but I put it in my weekly newsletter to our parents and the community. We are an open book about data. You want to know about it? You want me to explain it to you? You want me to tell you what's important or what's not important or how to interpret it? That is something that I feel like is a skill set that I've engendered and developed over time. And I feel like when people have numbers and information, then they can't create a false narrative. Like we drive the narrative of how spectacular our school is. It's not perfect. The things I'm saying today sound great. They don't all work right, and sometimes they're really bad, and we have to keep fixing them. But data allows us to do like we have this cycle where it's like try it, collect data, however you think that looks, and then we look at it, we tweak it, where we drop it, and we do it again. And that's what like gets me. That's what gets our admin team, our motor going. And it's cool because after 3 years now, that's where the culture is. The PLCs are looking at assessment data. We're looking at our division assessments and how that what skill sets are we missing for students. And so it's a culture of competence is what I like to call it for my elementary ed majors. It's a culture of competence when it comes to mathematics and data. And so we use every bit of it because otherwise people won't find any value in it, right? They'll do surveys because they are forced to, or they'll see the data from the state or the school division and they'll say that sounds good. But I want people to know what it means and that it's not a number, it's a human being, and that human being we're impacting for the rest of their life. And that's why that information is so critical, not because it says we're accredited or not accredited, but that is a person that we're talking about.
Yeah, no, I think so many good things, man. This is so awesome, Dan. Thank you again. I just have to say it right now, but one thing that you said that I think right at the end of that segment is the person behind the number. In Spokane, many schools across the district have over probably the last 5 years or so dipped into what's called results-based accountability. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but RBA, one of the parts of the process of driving results-oriented change is understanding the story behind the data, and that's how we categorize it, is just really understanding the story behind the data. Like you said, it's not just a number. That number means something, and that is so important. But the other thing that's important, I think, that our listeners recognize that I'm picking up from what you're talking about around data-driven culture is that data is information, and it's communication. We talk about how critical being a good communicator is as a leader, and communication is one of those things that makes or breaks relationships. And we were talking about the relationship that the school leader has with his or her community, his or her staff and students, coaches, para-educators, classified staff. It isn't just about written or spoken communication. There's a variety of ways that we can communicate, how we communicate, how much we communicate, and unpacking the story behind that communication. So thank you for sharing that. I'm thinking to myself as I listen to you, I know that I've had this question, how does a person become a principal of the year, whether it's local, state, national? And Dan, as I listen to you answer these questions, it's revealing what a principal has to do to become recognized at that level, because you're doing awesome things, really, really awesome things. Okay, we're about 23 minutes in. One more question for you that I think we'll wrap it up. And it's a question that I ask often of our guests on here, just because everybody has different ways of doing it. But for me, One thing that I talk about often with my administrative team, my teaching staff, my coaches, my student athletes is the idea of personal growth. Our school mantra is all day, every day, becoming my best self, and that's kind of an anchor for us. It's a lens that we use to for decision making. Is it helping us or holding us back from that process of becoming our best self? So, what has been your process or routine for personal development that keeps you ready for optimal leadership?
Probably a lot of the things that you speak to your staff and students about, taking care of yourself, right? So for me, it's physical, mental, and spiritual health. That's important to me. All three of them, and one doesn't outweigh the other. I have a very specific routine in how I try to physically take care of myself because my body's not well, then my mind's not well. And then I feel the same way spiritually. If my body and soul are not well, then my mind's not well. And then to keep my mind well, I really enjoy interacting with people. And so I spend a lot of time reading a lot of books about business and economics. And you say, why would you do that if you're a high school principal? Because if you think about relationships, like you think about currency and economics and how that works, it changes, it depersonalizes in the most healthy way how you deal with situations to uplift other people and what they're trying to get out of it more so than what you're trying to get out of it. So everybody always jokes, but I always have like 2 or 3 books on my car. Our admin team reads 2 or 3 books a year, and we're mostly about personal and interactions with people, personal interaction with yourself, self development, self growth, how to get through these processes that we don't really focus on because in education we're about academic this or program that. It's such a transactional job. It really is, and then you have to find time to refill your cup. I teach 3 classes during the school year at nighttime. I have 5 dissertation students right now. I say you're probably nuts. I have 4 of my own kids. I have a senior in high school, a freshman in high school. My wife works full time. We have a 7th grader and a 5th grader. But that's how I refill my cup is giving people the gifts I have. Because right now people want to hear them or want them from me. Right. At some point they're not going to want to hear from me anymore, and that's fine. That time will come. But while they do, I feel like if I have these things that somebody might get something out of, like the opportunity to speak with you today, and one person takes something away from this, that I know that I've given back to society in a way that not very many people have an opportunity to do so. So that really drives me and gets me excited. But having that routine, I constantly look at my 24 hours. I probably do once a month. Like, what am I doing every 24 hours? Am I really spending good time on things? Am I wasting time? And I shift it. And that's it takes, people call it, I don't like the word discipline. So I like to call it takes commitment, but it takes a certain level of commitment to yourself. You owe it to yourself to take care of yourself, right? That analogy, you put the mask on first in the airplane if there's an emergency for you help the person next to you. You owe it to yourself to take care of yourself, because if you don't, then you hurt everybody else around you. And as a leader, I have to model that for people. And I'm not perfect, and I don't always do a good job of it, but I know that's where I start. And I like your theme. Our theme this year was called Cross the Line, deeper commitment, better results. And it was talking about the deal being persistent and taking one extra step. That one more degree turns boiling water into steam, and steam can move a locomotive, right? So that whole idea of just getting a little bit better every day, that's really important that people learn that from me, either by modeling it or how I speak and carry myself.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I have a routine that works well for me too, and one of the things that's part of that routine every day, like you said, is getting my mind right. And so on my commute, I'm always listening to something, whether it's a podcast or I got a YouTube video, going through the Bluetooth in my truck, or an app that I use. This is a unpaid advertisement for Headway. Headway is an app that does book summaries, and it's actually part of the Everyday Principle learning management system. But again, it's digestible chunks, and when I listen to that, I pick up little nuggets, and I always share something. I do the morning announcements every day. It's one of my favorite things. I have students that sign up for it, and they come down and help me do the morning announcements, but I always have a little nugget that I share. And I love what you just said. It takes 1 degree to turn water to steam, and Steve can move things. And no, I just think that's awesome. One thing that you said, Dan, that I think is super important is, just embracing change, and that, we're in a profession that is dynamic, and to change and evolve with the dynamic nature of K-12 education, we need mental, emotional, and spiritual fitness. Is kind of what I'm taking away from what you said. And if you think about it in the terms of fitness, when the fitter you get, the more you can do, and the more that it actually takes more to fill your cup, so to
Yep.
speak. The less fit that I am, it takes only a little bit to fill my cup, and then I'm already exhausted. So this idea of kind of building your mental, emotional, and spiritual fitness, I think is super important. All right. To keep it true to under 30 minutes, we have 20 seconds to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And this has been awesome, seriously. And I look forward to having you back on the show someday. I'd love to
Thank you.
reconnect maybe at the end of this school year just to see how things went. But in closing, don't forget to continue to share your expertise with us. I'm happy to put those things out on LinkedIn and in our weekly emails. So Dan, thanks again.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you. And I'd love to get back on here or connect at the end of the school year, and I'll be happy to share any resources with you after this as well. But what a great opportunity! It's awesome to find like-minded people out there that are doing good things for kids, and that's what it's all about. So thank you.
Of course. All right. Take care. The EP Talks podcast is brought to you by Everyday Principal, the leading learning management system for school administrators. EP Talks is one product in the suite of assets Everyday Principal has to offer. Other products include EP Collaborate and EP University. For more information how Everyday Principal can inform, influence, and inspire learning for you and your school district, contact us today at everydayprincipal.com.